Michel's first step was to find out if there was a particular type of whale that was causing the collisions. There are 27 different species of cetacean in these waters around the Canary Islands. Very quickly, he discovered the sperm whale was the most susceptible to being involved in such collisions, due to its vast size and extraordinary diving pattern.
The sperm whale is a champion of diving. They make this very long dive. They can go over 2,000 meters deep, and they can stay over 40 minutes underwater. So this unusual way of diving make them go to the surface to breathe every 40 to 50 minutes. That's when the collision can happen.
Having identified the protagonist, Michel Andre turned his attentions to finding out how to prevent this happening.
The first step was to try to find a system to warn the whale so they can move away from the boat. So we tried to do some experiments with playback sounds.
The whale communicates and navigates by sending out a click or a signal of a certain frequency towards any object. The signal is then reflected back from the object to the whale. In this way, the whale can then determine where the object is, which way it's moving, and how big it is. This is how the whale sees. This system is called echolocation. Playing sounds of varying frequencies underwater, Michel wanted to see how the whales would react.
We conducted 215 trials. We found out that the sperm whales were not reacting to the low frequency sounds.
Michel and his team were worried by their results. The whales were not responding as they had hoped. They seemed unable to hear.
We were thinking that if the lack of reaction were due to the quantity of noise in the area, maybe whales could be affected in the long term by this noise. That's why maybe they were not reacting to this coming ship, and this could be an explanation of the increasing number of those collisions in the area.
Michel was convinced that the high level of noise pollution from the ships was making the whales deaf. To confirm this, he had to study the hearing of these great mammals more closely. For the answer, he needed the ears of dead whales. By chance, another collision killed 2 sperm whales and provided him with some ears to study.
When a whale comes in, what we do is a routine, and part of this routine is to look at the inner ear. We fix them in some solution, which allows us then to work on the histology of this ear.
Clearing the muscles and material from around the ear, Michel extracted the cells from the cochlea to study them in detail. The cells were damaged and proved that the whale's hearing system was unable to translate the vibrating sound waves into electrical waves that the brain can understand.
We found that those 2 whales couldn't hear the low-frequency sounds. And this would, in a way, confirm that the low-frequency sound produced by shipping could affect, in the long term, the local whales.
This problem was particular to the Canary Islands because it has a resident non-migratory population of whales who suffer the assault of shipping noise on a daily basis.
The hearing problem of the sperm whale population is still like a hypothesis. But we can reasonably assume that this problem can be extended to the rest of this population.
Of course, if they cannot hear, they can't understand the surroundings. They cannot orientate. They cannot communicate with the others, with the rest of the group. So that means that they cannot live.
This was a serious problem for the whales. But it was also a stumbling block for the team. If they were right and these mammals were unable to hear any active warning system, to get the whales to move away would be useless. The team were going to have to come up with something completely pioneering.
We switched our research to a passive system, trying to take advantage of the proper sounds the whales produce in order to locate them in real time and to transmit this information to the ships.
Scientific thinking had to be turned on its head. A radically new theory required greater understanding of these extraordinary animals. Michel and his team would have to hit the high seas once more. Stocking up the boat with provisions and technical equipment, they were prepared to be at sea for days at a time in order to find, follow, and study these vast whales.
We know that they like to be in a specific channel between the two main islands where they can find squids, which is the main prey.
Although they knew the whales frequented this area, they were still covering a large expanse of water. Michel created an underwater listening device to find the whales. Lowering the string of hydrophones off the back of the boat, the team then had to wait for the sperm whales' calls.
So, working on these specific sounds, we can find their position and follow their individual movement in the area, and then in any moment and in real time, we can know where they are.
But it can be a long wait before they hear the whales' signals. Finally, 5 hours later, the clicks were picked up. Heading in the direction of these sounds, the boat can be with the whales relatively quickly. Once with the whales, the work really starts. It's important for the scientists to have an extensive knowledge of their subject. Little is known about these elusive animals, so there's much to learn. The team needs the expertise of a variety of disciplines.
We have engineers, biologists, mathematicians, veterinarians, and we all work together because we need all the expertise of each one.
The team need to monitor and identify the whales so they can understand them and their behavioral patterns in order to create a system to prevent further collisions.